everyone, and welcome to my craft room. Today I have an interactive card to share with you using Fawn's reveal wheel as well as the Let's Toast pull tab add-on. I'm creating a seesaw effect with these cute little trampolines and little critters from Really High Five, I think is the name of the set. I just got it, so I haven't memorized the title yet, but I'll have everything in my description of this video. But as you can see, one little critter is up and my other little critter is down. And when you spin the reveal wheel, they switch spots. The rabbit comes down and the bear goes up. And you turn the reveal wheel the other way and they go back, creating this seesaw kind of effect. So I hope you enjoy this video and let me know what you can create with your seesaw effect in the comments. I'm starting off by cutting out the 3 pieces from the reveal wheel. I have the reveal wheel circle, the small circle, and the reveal wheel frame. I think that's what it's called. That's what I'm calling it. On one of the frames, I'm going to be using the Cloudy Stencil and Stormy Sky Distress ink to create a background for my card. I rotate the stencil to get different cloud effects so my clouds don't look like they're the same in different rows. I'm using the Distress ink on the bottom because that's where my grass is going to go and that will be the start of my sky. Using that same frame, I cut it out in a piece of green cardstock and I'm using this grass border die to create the ground for that card background. I was jumping the gun trying to figure out where I was going to place my pull tab openings, but I realized I needed my images to really know where exactly they were going to go. So I cut and colored my trampolines and my critters, and I used Letraset Pro markers and cut them out with my Scan and Cut. I'm placing the trampolines where the critters will go and figuring out the placement of where my reveal wheel is going to go, as well as those slidered opening dies. Because there's no reveal wheel opening, I'm having a hard time finding the right placement. I really should have just used my T ruler and measured the center of the card using that opening as a guide on the right. But regardless, it works out fine. I die cut 2 of the pull tab pieces, the toaster pieces, and I'm trimming them down because I know my critters are going to be a lot smaller than that toast size. My advice would be to wait until the end to do this. It wasn't necessary to trim them down at this time. And you'll see why later having a bigger toast piece will be easier. Using my grid, I figure out where the pull tab opening needs to go for both my critters. I'm going to die cut one out on the right and one out on the left using the grid again, and also where the reveal wheel spinner will be. I'm using my T ruler as a guide to help me make sure I am equidistant from the edges for both of my critters. Once those are both cut out, I can now work on the seesaw effect that I'm creating out of the reveal wheel dies and the pull tab dies. I place them both in the center and I'm going to determine where I need to put brads by lining everything up on the back and just using my poking tool to go through where I need to hole punch on the reveal wheel spinning as well as the pull tab pieces. I use a hole puncher to punch where those little holes were made. Now I'm assembling the reveal wheel together with the brad, as well as placing brads on for those 2 pull tab toast pieces. I'm sorry this is a little out of frame, but you can see what I'm doing still. After fiddling around, I realized that I switched the places of my pull tabs and switched them to the proper place. I also used the brads I have on hand for the reveal wheel, not really thinking that the brad might show through that sliding piece. So whatever your background color is, I would definitely recommend using that color brad. For example, I really wish I had white brads to hide behind that cloudy sky. Now I'm ready to put the reveal wheel in place so I can work on my seesaw characters. I slide all my pieces through, making sure that they are in the middle of the pull tabs. And I adhere that top part to the second white frame of my reveal wheel. Everything seems to be functioning, and I take off the background cloudy sky, and I'm going to add foam tape to the bottom frame all the way around to adhere the cloudy backdrop and sandwich in that reveal wheel. As you can see, I'm trimming again the toast pieces of that pull tab. I thought it would be easier to trim them while my reveal wheel was still open, but honestly, it doesn't matter, and I wish I would have waited till after I adhere my cloudy background on, because I had a hard time trying to get those tiny slivers through while my foam was sticky. If they were a little larger, it would have been much easier, and I wouldn't have to worry about balancing the stickiness while trying to pull out those little slivers of paper through the sliding opening. But it works out and it turns out fine. And everything is working and I'm really excited. When you spin it to the top, the bear goes up, and when you spin it down, the rabbit goes up. So now I'm using really strong double-sided sticky tape to adhere my critter. I'm making sure to place my trampoline where it will go to make sure my critter is in a good spot. I did measure earlier, but me just being overly cautious, like to have the trampoline there while adhering my bear. And it's so exciting to see him jumping. Now I'm going to place on my rabbit, and I'm going to do the same of placing strong double-sided sticky tape onto those pieces and adhere the rabbit like he's jumping as well. I use my bone folder to make sure everything is secure. As this is an interactive card, I want to make sure my pieces aren't going to fall off. I trim any excess of those toast pieces to make sure they're not showing behind the critters. Everything is functional, and I'm going to put together the rest of my card. I decide to add a little distress ink of Mowed lawn to my grass. I want it to have the same feel as the sky background. Now that it's adhered, I wanted to sprinkle some liquid Stardust, but didn't want my critters to get sprayed, so I'm cutting just little masks out of scrap paper. And I'm putting some liquid Stardust onto some leftover laminate and using a paintbrush to flick on liquid Stardust without any water, and then also with water. I love the shimmer look that liquid Stardust gives to my cards, and I pretty much use it on everything. Now I'm thinking about the sentiment I want to use and decide on jumping up to say, "Have an uplifting day," and I place those to the side. I'm going to glue on the two trampolines, and I make sure that the rabbit and bear are in the location of their lowest point when gluing on the trampolines, so that way they actually do jump on the trampoline and they're not hovering above it, even in the down position. I'm using a gray pro marker to add a little bit of grounding under each of the legs of the trampolines. That way it doesn't look like they're floating on the grass. I stamped my sentiment on some scrap white paper with Blue Jay ink, and I'm trimming them out to adhere to the card. I use my paper cutter to cut straight lines above and beyond the sentiments, and I use my large scissors to cut the sides. I noticed that Jumpin' Up to Say was a little thicker than the other one, so I'm just trimming it down a bit to make them look even. I decide to adhere them using foam squares to the top of the frame, and I make sure when my critters are in the highest position that they won't interfere with the sentiment. I love playing with the reveal wheel, and it's so fun to watch this seesaw effect with these two critters. I originally planned to emboss a sentiment that said, "Turn me," on the edge, but I noticed when I stamped and embossed, it just was not readable. Couldn't read what it actually said to do. So I cut a white rectangle out from the rectangle stackables, that's the same size as the reveal wheel frame, and glued that to the card base, and then stamped "Turn Me" in that same Blue Jay ink next to the reveal wheel spinner. The rest of my stamped images was this cute little mouse from Dandy Day. Looks like he's waiting for his turn on the trampoline. And I also stamped and colored some grass, the little bird, and flowers from the Lawn Fawn Hero Arts collaboration set, Big Thanks. I wanted to add tufts of grass around the trampoline legs to again give it that effect that they are grounded in the grass. I also put a couple tufts of grass around the cute little mouse and just in a various spot on the lawn. And my bird is up with the sentiment, sitting up high and watching the critters have fun. Now, I mentioned before that I did use a silver brad, and when the rabbit is down, you can see that silver brad. I was a little disappointed, but lesson learned, and here I am to tell you to make sure you use a brad that matches with your background so it's not as obvious. But I plan on sending out the card with the rabbit in the highest position, and you can't even tell that there's a brad there. I'm using my white gel pen just to add in some accents on my stamped images. And I'm so excited to share this card. It's so cool. I love turning it and seeing the critters jump up and down on this card. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and have an amazing day.